I was actually doing Bad, Blonde, and
Stop,
Beautiful.
we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 28, season 2 of Red Wings Rant. Where tirades and impassioned pleas about your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Mike, we're going to be talking about that victory, the improbable victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we're going to go over some of the fun questions I was asking on Twitter this week, and what else was there? There's some ESPN fun, so Svechnikov fun, and there's something else. So stick around to find out what that is, so Matt doesn't have to scroll down too far to see it. But Mike,
That's no face, Tampa Bay! Woo! That was a hot mic. Matt, we got to do some business first?
yeah.
All right. That's cool. You know why? Yeah, because it's time for the macho madness. Yeah. The biggest tournament is finally here. Woohoo! I mean, it's basketball. I mean, we're here for hockey, but, we got to do the business. All right. So I'm sorry. All right. Just win some money in basketball and then come back and watch a real sport like hockey. All right. Here we go.
Hockey comes out with a tournament that stops planet Earth. We'll be covering that tournament.
Literally, everybody was going to be fine with COVID. Yeah, everyone was going to be fine with COVID last year, and then the NCAA tournament got canceled, and everyone's like, oh, I guess it's real. Well, okay, now I believe in COVID. All right, so we don't know who's going to be cutting down the nets at the end of this tournament. We don't cut down nets in hockey, all right? Those are expensive, all right? I don't know if you've ever bought a hockey net. We used to have one when we were kids. My God, were those expensive. So we don't do it. Basketball, they do it all the time. They got nets galore. Anyway, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. It's true. Look up top-rated sportsbook app. Yes, it is DraftKings. They're putting a nice offer out there for you new customers, old customers, your old hat. Sorry. New guys, coming aboard right over here. Step right up, win some money. This is where you get to be the center of the action. Turn $4, this many, into $256. That's a lot more fingers than this. And if your underdog wins, bing, bang, bango, bingo, right? There we go. So turn those $4 into $256. It's 64-1 odds. My God, every dollar you bet could turn into $64. I would really like that. I'm going to be doing some house remodeling. My money is gonzo. All right, so pick one of the many select college basketball underdogs for your shot at winning $256. All it takes is a $4 bet.
I think that next line is yours.
This is when we transition.
But I can take it. There's no better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't worry if college basketball isn't for you. DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings is safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit, withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up to turn $4 into $256. If the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset, that's code THPN to turn $4 into $256. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Mike, just use that THPN promo code. Unlocks a bunch of exclusive offers. That's what you got to know. All right. All right. Let's. All right. You ready to wrap up? We'll sail off. We just talked DraftKings for 5 minutes. Jesus.
All right.
All right. Where were we?
Talk business. Oh yeah, we were caffeinated. We were caffeinated for that Lightning. spanking we gave them, man. 2 games, Red Wings got 3 points out of it. My God, who would have thought that would happen? Vasilevsky shaking his head. The coaching staff shaking their head. Matt, what happened? How did the Lightning just get their pants dropped and a big Red Wing pattern on their butt cheeks?
Keys. When I put together my keys for the game, I said in the first game, the third key was pray to the hockey gods. And we talked about that in the last game. They actually answered our prayers and gave us a pretty crap goaltending game. And then in the second game preview, I said, well, sorry, guys, this is it, because the hockey gods answered us on that first game, and it just didn't work out. But, Mike's, this is it. This is it. This is where the hockey gods said, no, we tried in that first game, and you Red Wings didn't get it done. So I'm sorry, Tampa Bay, but you guys will not be able to stop a single puck tonight. The Red Wings are winning this game. And that is exactly what happened because – Mike, I gave the list here. We were dominated from every sense of the game, from high danger chances, from possession in regards to Corsi. I mean, Mike, listen to these numbers. This is like you base Corsi and you call it possession because you're throwing the puck at the net, right? That's how you build Corsi attempts. So you get those Corsi attempts by throwing the puck at the net. That's why you call it possession. So that first period, Red Wings had the puck for 29% of the time. Second period, 45% of the time, we did a little bit better. We were almost dead even. Mike, the third period, the Corsi attempts were 19-1. That's 5% of the time, Mike. We had the puck in the third period, and we still pulled out a victory. When you measure PDO, you're measuring, and this is where like puck luck and praying to the hockey gods comes into play, right? That's what we've always called PDO, is the puck luck stat. You're talking about Jonathan Bernier stopping everything coming at him and McElhenney not being able to stop a single goddamn thing because we only threw like 20 pucks at the net and we got 6 goals. That's where PDO comes into play. That's where it tells the whole story, where the Red Wings had a save percentage through the roof and a shot percentage through the roof. That was all about the hockey gods, all the bounces. But, I mean, it's 2 straight, right? Like, if you had to pick 2 games this year that the Red Wings were going to get 3 points out of a possible 4, we have to at least celebrate that it was against the Lightning, and that's pretty goddamn fun.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You know, right, I always appreciate when you throw the – I don't know why you always do that, but I was going to say that, you know, there's the deep cut stuff that you gave us. But for me, a third grader, just trying to figure out, you know, some of the numbers here. The power play opportunities were bananas in this game. Red Wings 0 for 4, which is kind of what we expect. Lightning 1 for 6. And for me, watching this game, 10 penalties is quite a few. You know, the Lightning, after the Red Wings, you know, gave them a bare butt spanking, took out their aggression on the Predators. And it was a really disciplined game. They just dominated 5-on-5, and they had 1 power play apiece. So I guess what I'm getting back to is, watching that game, it didn't look like there was undisciplined play. It just looked like the forwards on both sides were so aggressive that you couldn't help but take penalties to try and prevent, you know, more scoring chances from happening. So this, I would look at that number as more of an indicator of how badly these teams were trying to score, that there were so many opportunities that you had to do something, even, you know, take an illegal play to put somebody in a box instead of giving up a free goal. It was, you know, I would say the 2 teams that are the most fun to watch as a Red Wing fan, because, you know, we know our team's, you know, not quite at, you know, playoff level yet, but watching us play against Chicago and watching us play against the Lightning, there's something about watching that kind of back and forth, like aggressive goal scoring mentality. You know, it's not sitting back on your heels and turtling, you know, and limiting scoring chances. Something about playing the Lightning and their wide open style, like it makes the Red Wings want to do that. And it made for a much more interesting viewing experience, you know, for the fan and somebody, you know, come together to put a podcast together. But yeah, I mean, the Lightning still look dominant. They still look like they controlled the puck. All the numbers are there to support it. But for whatever reason, the Red Wings were somehow able to make the most of their 23 shot opportunities and almost Man, they were really close to going 50% if they just had a few less shots. Yeah, there's still players on the Lightning who are standing out and playing Lightning hockey. It's not like they were, rolling over and dying. It was just one of the Red Wings' better efforts. And like you said, there was puck luck for sure. But man, I regret not recording this game to rewatch it. Like the entertainment level is really high on this one.
Or at least like just betting the over. Like that would have been nice. Like because we certainly destroyed the over in that game. And that I think that was I should apologize right off the bat here because I think we do have a delay. I'm getting delayed reactions from Mike. So that's I'm gonna throw that out there as we're recording. So I do apologize. I think that's Matt's internet. But shoot, what was I just talking about before I distracted myself? That PDO, Mike. Just for the sake of just for the sake of giving everybody like perspective on what's going on here. The Red Wings beat the Hurricanes. So this is the second game of the season, January 16th. Our best PDO game before Thursday was 113%. So that's a combined shot and save percentage of 17% and 96%, 17 shot percentage, 96 save percentage. Boom, best PDO game of the season before this past Thursday, where Bernier turns in a 93, almost 94 save percentage, and the shot percentage is 31.25%. You'd pretty much have to double up that first game that I mentioned for us to even sniff that number. But that's, I mean, if you put us in order of our highest PDO games, it's completely reflective of where the shot percentage is at, because that's how they rank. So when we get that shot percentage to be just normal, this team is very, very formidable. And it's just something, Mike, I know we're going to talk about it later in the show, but you have success, right? You put up 6 goals against the Lightning. But when you're looking for those higher shot percentages, you wonder why a guy like Svechnikov gets set down. But we'll get into that in a minute.
The other thing we have to just at least touch on was how dominant Anthony Mantha looked. Whether he was, forechecking, getting plays going, he scored, he got 2 assists, and he's part of that play that kind of had Mickey Redmond, falling out of his chair because it was so creative. Because we know a lot of the Red Wing offense has just kind of been, well, we'll dump it in the backboards and, maybe we'll hungry hippo goal into the net. But he basically had like a golf chip shot from the red line, into the Tampa Bay Lightning zone to get a play started. And it's just the kind of creativity I would expect out of the Lightning. And we haven't really seen, it was such a deliberate, sand wedge shot, in golf. Bloop. I don't know. I don't know what brought out all this, effort. Maybe Mantha's just, starting to get a little bit healthier here. And, you look up and, it's one of the top teams in the league. And it just looked like a switch was flipped. And very encouraging. Again, I know the game itself was really fun to watch, but watching Mantha look like Mantha again made us feel like maybe there's some hope. And maybe we don't have to keep reading and, listening to the pundits talk about, Red Wings fielding offers for Mantha. And instead, games like this make us feel like, well, maybe he actually is a building block, if he's going to keep contributing like this. It was very encouraging stuff, Matt.
Or, you just get better offers on the table because he plays like this. That's
could be.
Official statement from the Red Wings Rant podcast. All right. That does put him at 13 points in 27 games this season. Still, we had our midseason grades come out this week. And yes, there's a version 2.0 coming out because Matt doesn't have an editor until somebody close to him reads it and says, wow, this is real shit. There's a lot of typos in it.
I did not use that word.
So there's a 2.0 coming out.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to say it was you, but now everybody knows. Hey, Hoozles. What was great for me and what I put in the midseason grades, and like I said, we'll get into it in a second. I gave Mantha a C+, and basically saying, look, the effort's there, but this is the $5.7 million Mantha. We have yet to see the $5.7 million Mantha produce like a $5.7 million Mantha should have been expected to. It's fine that the effort's there, but the effort is also there from the likes of Darren Helm. So I'm just not gonna reward Mantha the same way. But this is this is a great example of what we want to see from Mantha going forward, obviously. But it's also to say that he had a 3-point night, and right now he still sits at less than half a point per game, is exactly why he got a C+. I think we just need to see more like this. And for anybody making the argument like you can't get rid of an Anthony Mantha, you absolutely can, because the guys that you're keeping around that are going to get paid as high as Mantha does need to make like the eye-popping difference. They can't be the guy that you're trying to say is making a difference on the analytics side, when really, if you go ahead and read the midseason grades, he's really not there. He's not there in the elite numbers for an analytics performance. He's there in a serviceable performance. But then if you just take the hard numbers, just take a look at the goals and the assists, that's where we need those numbers to kick up. So I guess two sides to that, right? The 3 points, great to see. Love to see the empty net assist with Namestnikov. I thought that was a really nice play. That's one of those plays that should go in the highlight reel and won't for any player. But yeah, like I said, I mean, that's the other point too, right? I mean, 3 points, one of them was an empty net assist. So I think it would have been funny
I think it would have been funny if Namestnikov passed it back and he's like, I don't need an empty net goal. You take it. Man, this delayed reaction is killing me.
I did want to ask you about that. Like, how would you feel? Like, yeah.
You think I need an empty net goal?
Paint the picture for everybody. Just to paint that picture, I think what's going on is I have extra people in the house because somebody's going to be babysitting the baby girl, and I think everybody's just decided we're going to connect to the Wi-Fi. And my wife is also doing a conference online this weekend, which is why we have a babysitter coming over, so I can record my silly podcast and she can do her conference. But that also means all of our Wi-Fi is being sucked into one area of the house, and Matt's been hoping Xfinity was going to answer one of these days to bring some internet into this office, like a hard cable, so they can help me out. But hey, here we are.
Hey, sometimes you'll be recording, and yeah, it's pretty rough, Matt. I thought it was going to be me. I was not only getting us ready for our first Who's That Pokemon in 3 episodes. I also had Pokemon Go open, so it could also be me. I don't know. I'm letting Xfinity know I'm in the midst of catching a Thundurus, which is a new legendary Pokemon at the Raids.
I would absolutely.
You guys already know.
I actually turn off the Wi-Fi on my phone every time that we record, so I would highly recommend, Mike, because I just realized that my internet is at 100. It's got the 100%, the 3 bars. So yeah, if it's anybody, now that I'm looking at it, it's the guy who's playing Pokemon Go while we're recording.
It's weird. I'm trying to also download Red Dead Redemption 3 and Grand Theft Auto 6 at the same time. I don't know if those are playing apart. None of those things are actually going on, man. I just wanted you to feel better. I'm sorry. But what would a Red Wings Rant episode be without a detour and non sequiturs and anecdotes that don't relate to hockey? So, yeah, I mean, we got to touch on Mantha there. And, man, if he has another 3-point night tonight, are you going to redo your grades?
No, because the midseason point has passed. So he can absolutely do better in the second half. Can
you do your, 51% of the way through the season grades and then boost Mantha up to a B?
See, you know what? I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I don't understand what everybody's hang up is with having the conversation about making sure that everyone on this I know you're not necessarily saying that, but I've seen some of our rival podcasts say, certain things like, where are the Anthony Mantha trade, I don't know, truthers tonight? And it's not about needing to trade Anthony Mantha. It's about all of these guys are pieces that if you get the right trade, you absolutely take it, because we're not in that realm of like winning next year. So if there's something that, sure, the timetable, you got to think that Yzerman's mind has, he has an idea when Seider and Lucas Raymond are going to be stepping up and that timetable hits that peak. Like, that's where we're like, all right, everything's coming together. Now we sign free agents. Now we make that huge trade. We lose a draft pick because we're going to bring somebody from another team. All of that stuff is going to come around at the same time. And you still look at Anthony Mantha and see by the end of this contract, he's going to be statistically at the part where he's declining in his career, especially from a production standpoint. So do you need a guy eating up $5.7 million who will statistically be on the decline? Do you need that? Absolutely no. You don't need that. I get where everybody's standpoint is of wanting to keep him, because I don't want to lose him, but I do want this team to eventually be with as few issues as possible when moving forward. And I mean, if I needed an example to say that issues can pop up in Mantha's play, we've seen the injuries. And now we've seen where we kept saying at the start of the season, hey, we get to see a full season out of Anthony Mantha this year. I mean, I guess we're a game short of that, but the production is completely dropped off. So, like, what argument are we seeing that this is like a for sure guy? Don't put him. You can't trade him, and that's the conversation. I think there's 99% of the guys on this team can be traded. And you were mentioning, Mike, before we even started, I think you said Stetcher, his big comment was the best player on the team is Jonathan Bernier. He is absolutely on the trade block. So, I mean, if Bernier is on the trade block, I don't know what game we're playing. I don't know if we're just too afraid to admit that, this is going to be longer than 2 years. Like, we've got a lot of time to go before everything kind of wraps together. So if that means Anthony Mantha's outside of that timetable, and we've been saying this, Mike, since the very first episode of Red Wings Rant, or I guess at the time it was a different name. You got to keep that conversation open.
Yeah, I mean, I think you keep it open because he still has that potential. He's got a resume that I think he would still be impressed by. He's still got size that you'd be impressed by. You see a game like he has against the Lightning, and you can see that, there's still the bones of a really good NHL player in there. And then you're basically just saying, are the Red Wings, are our top prospects going to be ready in time for, when Mantha's contract is up? And thinking about, Mantha's potential, thinking about how his contract is not otherworldly. We talked about how his salary's, at least a cut or two beneath, like an elite level player salary. So that means it's movable, it's tradable. So, I mean, a guy like that, a team that's, a little bit closer to actually contending to win, a Stanley Cup. Those are the teams you would field offers for, two pieces, essentially, some prospect and a first-round pick. Because I think with the way Mantha's age is, his contract, how many years you would still have control over him, you would still field those kind of offers. Obviously, we're not saying that, like our boy Bobby Ryan, probably at best, probably a second or third by itself. You're not going to get two pieces for him. It's just the way he's on an expiring deal. He's older. So that's kind of the realm where you're trading him, right? But with Mantha, if you're getting two pieces, absolutely listen to that deal. But, until then, be patient.
Right. No, and that's a great point. Like it's not about making sure you get rid of him at all costs. Like
right. That's a whole other thing. Nope, we're not making that argument ever.
Or whatever you can. It's about right. All right. So before we move on, Mike, I think we could get one of these Hockey Podcast Network ads out of the way. It's our boys who are covering the Nashville Predators. All right, who has a problem with the Predators? Nobody. Ooh. Last time we were doing Chicago Blackhawks ads, and everybody's pretty upset because who wants to listen to the Blackhawks? But this is the sweet, cuddly, can't win a cup Nashville Predators. So let's take a listen. Let's make sure this works. I'll bring up their logo here in a second. Can you hear that?
Like the kaleidoscope music?
What's up, y'all, and greetings from the hockey city of Smashville, home of the Nashville Predators, and home to a new hockey podcast, the Catfish and Ice Podcast, a part of the Hockey Podcast Network. Join hosts Chad Benton, Rich Howe, and Colin Blewin every week as we bring to you hard-hitting and unfiltered Nashville Predators hockey analysis, while also diving into the entertainment and music world here in Music City. We have a lot of fun doing it. Now is the time to join us for the ride, hockey fans. New episodes of the Catfish and Ice Podcast every Tuesday and Friday. Download the Catfish and Ice Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever else you get your podcast.
Ooh. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening to that. Gotta fade it out. It's we always like to throw in a little bit of advice for our Hockey Podcast Network brethren. Fade out that music. All right. Where were we? Oh my God, Mike, our stupid notes page just signed me out. All right. Give me 1 second. Jesus.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do. Was it our Be the
Mike,
GM?
If you want to take it.
So what were you doing?
Have a couple of polls that we want to talk about. They're not tense decision on what the NHL is going to do with their app and website. But I was wondering, and I threw it out to the people, and if the NHL, now working with ESPN and Disney and Hulu, and that's where a lot of the streaming access is going to go, no more NHL.tv. Mike, what do you want to see the NHL work on? Now, I asked specifically about the website and the app, and I threw out a couple of options for what they could upgrade. But if you want to take anything, like across the NHL, it doesn't have to be focused on the website or the app. What would you upgrade in that regard?
Well, you listed out a couple options: the speed, the analytics, the engagement. I guess what I would do is take see what kind of engagement with minor league hockey. See what we can do there. Speaking from a co-host of a podcast of a team that has been in the very craters of the NHL, not the cool Kraken-like craters that Seattle's going to crawl out of. The literal. Just had a Elmer Fudd moment there. I would want to see make it a little bit easier for me to just sit down and watch games that our prospects are playing in, whether that is the teams abroad, whether that is more Grand Rapids broadcasts. That's what's really appealing to me. And there's obviously there's a third of the league up at the top, and they're going to get nationally broadcast games. Now they're actually going to be on ESPN with their big contract, of course. But I know it's something the NBA has been doing a pretty good job with, as far as promoting the G League and making it a lot easier for you to kind of watch prospects grow and develop for your favorite teams. And then the league has also been promoting guys who play in the G League. So even if you're not a hardcore fan, they still try and promote, guys who are skipping a year of college or, did just 1 year and instead, signed into this league to get experience against, borderline professionals. So I think for me, that would be something if they could really make that easy to view, obtain, and get addicted to, I would be checking, more prospect highlights, statistics, and analysis. I think that would be a really cool addition for me.
Scott, I'd already wonder if that would be something that would fall under, now we're back in the streaming conversation, right? But I know, like, if you want minor league stuff, like, you just have to go to, like, the AHL website. Like, they have pretty robust, and I shouldn't say analytics, but the statistics are there. Like, we could follow along with anybody in the Griffins if we want to see where they're at with more than just points. But
well, if I may, one of the things, I'm not a huge baseball fan anymore, but they used to have not a daily article. It's way too much. And then it's, as a prospect, you're probably not going to get much out of one game. You want to see, as Ken Cal's, sermon, the Ken Cal sermon when he was on our show. One of the things he preached was, look at a larger sample size, look at trends, don't go game to game. So one of the things that Detroit News was really good at is giving you like a weekly or 10-day report on minor league, the going-ons of, the stars that the future stars. So I think kind of that connection, instead of having that separation of, well, you can just go to the minor leagues or you can do the NHL. They did it where it just kind of felt like one seamless, this is the Detroit entity. So I think that's one spot that could kind of, get those together instead of having to specialize one or the other.
Now, if we were to focus on the app and the website, we had a tie, which was robust analytics and speed of use. And, of course, that's in reference to how crappy what the statistics they throw out there, like what's available, how bad that is. But also, like, if you want to find something, not only does this website take forever to just load up, but, I mean, it's incredibly hard to just find a player and their goal. Like, I think it was on the Puck Soup podcast where they did a live, let's see what we can find. And it would take like 8 clicks to see a box score and a player point total. So that's too many clicks. There should be 1 click if you're looking for something, or maybe 2. So I like that. I like at least the accessibility being a little bit easier. And that's where, like we talked last week, like if you're the NHL, I guess you want to focus on hockey first. And if you can give away some of these other responsibilities, which I know Gary Bettman's not working on the website, so that's key number 1. But you can start to allocate your budget differently. If that's where the streaming's going and somebody's paying for those rights to take care of them, or to like take care of what those games are where they're gonna land. So now you're being paid for that to be taken care of. So now you don't have to worry about that NHL TV. Just worry about the website. So that's kind of where this came from. I'm hoping that this will follow along with me as I move around. All right. So poll number 2, Mike. And of course, I'm jumping around at BOD Hockey. Svechnikov gets sent down to the Griffins. And I threw out there, are we owed a real explanation for the demotion of the likes of Evgeny Svechnikov? Mike, the point being, we know we're in for a lot of losing. And even though we beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, we were given quite a terrible save percentage the game before, and we still couldn't prevail, though we did get to overtime. Long story short, this is going to be a team that struggles, and we need something to be excited about. So if Svechnikov is somebody that gets us excited, we're tweeting about him, we're checking his stats every game, we're checking the lineups every game to see when he cracks the top 4 and isn't just an extra guy, isn't that something you'd want to keep around for fun?
I don't know if the Red Wings are just saying that his defense is so abhorrent. It's a detriment to the...
And it's not.
The only other explanation is if his defense is not abhorrent. And, I mean, we have some pretty rough defenders. So, I mean, you got a pretty high bar of ineptitude. You got a hurdle to make that the reason. So the only other thing I could think of is he's scoring too much, and they're afraid that we're going to lose some ping pong balls for the draft. That's really all I can think of. But like you said, they didn't really give us a satisfactory explanation. The only thing I could think of is that they are really trying to juggle having the right roster set up to accommodate the expansion draft for Seattle. And that's where they might have some kind of weird hoops to go through, as they would have to put maybe different guys on waivers if they're playing too many, young guys at once. I don't know if that's going to make an impact, Matt, because I'm trying to remember the rules for that, but you had to have so many forwards who've got, X amount of years of experience, and then they have X amount of years left on their contract. So, I mean, because what we'd be doing is taking Svechnikov and trying to say, well, let's, maybe, say goodbye to one of our assistant captains without naming names. But is that what's going on, Matt? Do you think it's kind of Seattle? This is kind of like big picture, and they're something along those lines?
Probably, but I guess the conversation is like, don't we want to just not have it be where we're speculating about, and we're making jokes too about is the issue they just don't like Svechnikov's shot percentage is too high for this team? Like, take that factor out of it, take the guessing out of it, and our buddy Darren, he was telling us we got to wait. Friend of the show, Darren McCarty, was telling us we have to wait a year. You guys want to look out. We might have the old legendary Grindliner coming on podcast coming April. But anyway, Hoozles, he was saying you gotta wait till next year, and I think I want to take it from a perspective of this team is struggling so hard that we got new draft rules, right? Or they're talking about new draft rules. Nothing. It's all speculation at this point. So if we talked about it, it'd pretty much just be us going, yeah, it'd be great once they announce it, and let's see what they actually announce. But point of me bringing that up is everybody's talking about the new draft rules, and they say it revolves around the Red Wings because they should have gotten the first pick because of how historically terrible they were. So nationally, Mike, not just locally where we feel it game to game, nationally, everybody feels bad for us. We're that bad. It's historically that bad. But we also know we want to give Yzerman all the time in the world to figure this out. So for us to continue to tune in, I think we need to stop taking these little things away from us, taking away the Giovanni Smiths, taking away the Svechnikovs, the Taro Roses. Like, they weren't performing bad. Like, they had actual numbers that were going in. The actuals were good. The actuals were on their side. And the expected statistics were on their side, where you measure, like, what's going on, what's being thrown at the ice. Are they doing a good job defensively? You're right. There's something to it that we just don't know. And I think there's a big connection to most of these decisions revolving around the expansion draft. But a lot of that, was pointed out by Max Boltman earlier in the week, that these guys can still be picked up. It's about you give guys games to make the number of forwards that that are eligible to be what do I want to say, prevented from the pickup. Like that's where you build up these games. But really, a lot of these guys they can be picked up by Seattle, no problem. So I don't know if it's about hiding them, if it's about, well, this guy's playing well, so we don't want him to look too good. But I wouldn't mind that conversation. I wouldn't mind hearing that. And I think I get it from like every GM before has never, it would be unprecedented for a GM to come out and say, look, I called down this guy because this, and this. We've never got, fans in general have never gotten that explanation. But I don't know. I feel like these are hard times, Mike, as Dusty Rhodes would say. And I just sometimes you need something, you need some give back so that it's a little bit easier to stomach game to game. Even after a loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I still think to see it, to know that Svechnikov is something exciting coming up for the next game, or there's that possibility that his team leading points per 60 could continue to grow. Like, that's what I want. That's what I need right now. I don't need a 6-4 win where McElhenney has the worst game of his career. what does that do for us and knowing that we're growing in the future? It's fleeting, Mike. It's a win. It's a win in modern warfare, like Warzone, right? You win in Warzone, and then you immediately start another game, and you've completely forgotten that you just won. You don't get to hold on to that victory. It's gone. So give me something else. Give me something that's got some length to it, some time.
Yeah, I don't know if we haven't really gotten an argument that we or a reason for the send downs. The only thing I could really think is that, maybe at Grand Rapids, these guys are, letting them get 20 minutes a game, something like that. So they see more value in these guys being the, quote, top liner in, Beer City for 20 minutes rather than playing, 10 minutes in Detroit. But it's my problem with that, if that's the issue, is especially with that Tampa Bay game. We had Larkin double shifting. He played I think he played 20 to 21 minutes. He's playing defenseman minutes against Tampa Bay. And then basically across the board, the rest of the Red Wings played about, 12, 13 minutes. And so if we're going to go by that logic, I mean, Evgeny would have been right there. He would have been doing his usual 13 minutes. So he's not playing, a third of a game. He's, not really playing a fourth of a game. He's not doing 15. I think he would have been right on par with the rest of the team. So there's just something baffling there. It feels like it would get some more eyeballs on the product. It feels like, at this point, let's just see what it looks like against NHLers, Chellers, if you will. I just don't know. I don't have the ammunition to make the argument on the other side. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think that's where everybody keeps landing. Like, that's where we run out of steam, where it's just like I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll give because one thing Blashill said too was about the power play. He was saying that if I have Evgeny up, he's going to lose those power play minutes. To our top two power play lines, who've been sizzling all season. So maybe that's what they were getting at is, Evgeny's going to just man the power play in Grand Rapids. That's it. I'm just, trying to see what sticks. That's the one case I could make, I guess.
No, and you're totally right. Like if we needed to, if we're trying to figure out what's going on, we have those three, maybe four things to pick from. But none of them feel good enough. It's just that's where it's still. I do got to throw out there, Mike. We got a comment quite a while ago from Steve and Jack. Get rid of Blash 100%. Jack, Steve, sorry. Yeah, he's gone. Just there's no point. I mean, I think we've exhausted this conversation, but there's no point to doing it right now. It's the exact opposite conversation of what. You keep Svechnikov on the team because it's exciting, but a new coach is not exciting, and it doesn't do we're going to be in that realm of either having an interim coach that makes zero difference, and we're also scrambling during all these COVID protocols to find a replacement, and then we're bringing in a guy who's just going to lose with this team because there's not a ton of talent there. So, yes, he'll be gone. We don't think he's the best coach in the world, but he will be gone. And that's where we're kind of exhausted on the point and throwing it out there, just because we all know he's going to be gone. And it's just a matter of waiting till the season's over. If anybody thinks Blashill should stick around, or if they think he's immediately going to get scooped up by a playoff contender, it's unfortunately not going to happen. For Jeff. I think that's just the long and short of it.
Yeah, I think I would try to, get in the shoes of Yzerman. And, Steve obviously sees, even when he's signing, free agents in the offseason, and he explains to them, look, buddy, I really appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate it so much when we're in the toilet. If I get a good offer for you, I can send you to a playoff team. I'm going to do it. So he kind of knows going into this season, it's going to be rough, knowing that, even his best players are probably not going to be here very long. He's going to try and flip them into, assets for something more long-term. He knows the talent level on this team. So I believe he said it very coyly, because you don't want to say that your coach is a lame duck. But, he understands that I don't think Scotty Bowman could be behind the bench and, get this team into the playoffs. It's a talent thing. It's a growth thing. We have a lot of guys that are, either at the end of their careers or they haven't quite started to the point where they're playing at their peaks. So you're basically playing with the two worst possible ways, where we're still waiting for a few of these older contracts to, finish out. And we're still waiting for these younger guys to get to a point where they're, consistent, top level guys. So I know Blashill sometimes frustrates us with kind of that, I think it was Boggle, when you had all the letters in a little plastic bubble and you pop it and then all the letters would go out. And that kind of feels like how he does his lines sometimes. But yeah, I would just be patient, and we should be able to get to that after this season.
So final segment, I think, since we've got a Carolina Hurricanes game later today. So if you're listening to this Monday, you're kind of wondering, why aren't we talking about it? Well, I think we're in the realm now of the season, Mike, where we don't have to go game by game and discuss the ins and outs. You referenced Ken Kell earlier, who said, take your large sample sizes. So let's talk half a season, Mike. Let's talk the mid-season grades. I don't want to go too in-depth on this, because I just will ask everybody to check it out on bodpodcast.com/Red Wings Rant. It is our first ever mid-season grades. And I think last year, Mike, we did a bad job. We just talked about somebody else's mid-season grades. So I said we should probably do it ourselves, because we are a blog and podcast network, technically. So here we are. Mike, anything you said you read it this morning. You let me know there's a ton of typos. So anybody listening to this, by the time you're listening to this Monday morning, I'm gonna give this the old workaround, and there will be a mid-season grade 2.0. It's just I do apologize for anybody that went in and read it, because one person got a baby, and I got a pregnant wife at home, so it kind of just turns into there's just the day escapes you quicker than it ever has. But Mike, like I said, anything pop out to you as you scroll through these mid-season grades, or big surprises, things that you think I should retool?
Well, if there's two things I like, it's articles about trades and free agency. The other thing is reading grades. Give me grades. I want to know letter grades for my players. So I've read quite a few of these articles, and some of the national folks have really been generous with the grades, giving out quite a few B pluses and Bs with these players. And I feel like you and I probably our scores would be aligned a little bit more. Not necessarily critical, but it's just like, how can you give a passing grade when this is another not quite as historically bad as last season, but still, pretty rough. Bobby Ryan should obviously be at the top for the forwards. Larkin for his efforts. The one spot where contextually, if you're going to combine statistics, contribution to the team, and then again, that context of what's going on around you, it kind of feels like Bernier's grade was a little low. Anything below an A++ for that guy at this point, not just as, a few of the Red Wings have been, making mention that our best player's been Bernier. It's so obvious, watching game by game, the rebounds this guy limits, the shots that he sees and saves. Even in that Lightning game, he gave up, 4 games in that last one we had, 4 goals, but it still felt like it should have been 9 or 10 because that team is so talented. And there was quite a few opportunities where you were just like, your eyes were bugging out of your head. Like, wow, we really had 4 guys looking at the puck and nobody paying attention to the guys on the other side of the ice for poor Bernier, leaving him out to dry. So I just mean, knowing that he's kind of had, we'll use the word adventure. Well, he had an adventure as far as defensively, what's going on in front of him. We've seen a mortal man, and I'm talking about you, Thomas Greiss, try to put up solid numbers. We've seen great men fall from grace, right? We've seen Jimmy Howard fall from grace. He had to retire because of the defenseman in front of him. We've seen Thomas Greiss, who statistically, the whiskey man himself, who's just been getting better with age, suddenly plays behind the Red Wing defense, and his career looks like it's over. And then you look at Bernier, who, with the exact same cast of characters in front of him, is still putting out an outstanding performance, and is a guy that other teams would want to trade for to lean on to win playoff games. So, I mean, watching the Red Wing team essentially put, two goalies on the retirement list, Matt, it's an incredible feat. And Bernier saying, "Not me." I think that for sure is worthy of an A+. Matt, you're back. You're repost, if you will.
I think, to your point, like with how many bad things are around them, I think we forget like to take a look at how he compares across the rest of the league. Obviously, that 910 save percentage isn't going to win anybody a Stanley Cup, and the 3.02 goals against, which is went up a little bit, which those aren't the important numbers, but neither one of those are going to get you a Vezina. But what I took a look at was the actual, it's the goals saved above expected, and I actually called it something different. But I did it per 60, right? So I'm measuring. I lost Mike there, but while I'm making my point, and hopefully Mike returns, we're taking a look from March 11th. He sat at 29th place in the league. There's Mike. I can bring him back in. See, it was Mike. Mike got kicked. It was Mike's internet. I knew it. So he sits at 29th in the league of goals saved above expected on March 11th. Obviously, that came up a little bit in that Tampa Bay game. And that's measuring like what the expected goals should be and what he's actually given up. So that does take into consideration the bad defense in front of him. So when you're at that point, like I totally get, like, no analytic, no statistic is perfect. And Jonathan Bernier is having an amazing season for how bad this team is. But I still am, if I'm going to take the hard analytics and judge everyone else on it, I've got to do it to Bernier. So he's having a great season. And a B- does not mean he's having a bad season. It's just he's having a, he's doing pretty good. Like, if the deep analytics made the judgment call, like if the one stat that we use that we think is doing a good job of defining who the best goaltenders in the league are, and Mike, if you take a look at that statistic, number 1 and 2 are Marc-Andre Fleury and Andrei Vasilevsky, who everybody right now is in agreement are the top 2 goaltenders in the league. So if Bernier's in the middle, he gets a B. Or a B-. So it's just one of those things where he does stand out on this team. As you can see, even the grades, he's of the top 5 players graded on this team. But I think I just wanted to be as honest as possible. I think it would just be too much eyeball test if I just said A+. And that's where I want to make sure everybody's graded the same. Boom.
Gotcha.
Roasted. No. I know you missed half of the explanation, but that's everybody. I mean, you could see where my argument is on bodpodcast.com. So anybody who wants to take a look, that's where it is. And I threw out there too, like in the final statement, like I got tired of trying to find an analytic. Is basically what I was saying. I got tired of trying to find an analytic that said Bernier is having an amazing season, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy that he is the thing, like the shining light between the 2 goaltenders, anything on our defensive side. He is doing an amazing job, and I'm not taking anything away, but we just have to take a look at the, as you put it, the deep cut analytics. Go for it.
Yeah, the other, just do, I guess, a forward and a defenseman too. Just really want to talk about Bobby Ryan. I think that was probably the most on the nose score. He just comes in, he's making $1 million. Literally, he's making $1 million, and he's been our best point producer. So he should obviously be recognized for that. He's probably going to get recognized when we see his name moved going across the feed on NHL.com and ESPN.com that he's been traded to somebody who's going to use him in a playoff game. But yeah, his contributions, it's felt. His positive energy, even in the face of all this just animosity, and it's like you wish that he was having this comeback story on a good team. So I kind of feel bad that he'd probably be talked about a little bit more in the national light if he was, playing on, a Canadian team, maybe, or a team that's actually got some wins. If he was like a third liner, a fourth liner in Tampa Bay, something like that. Instead of being, the best Red Wing. Yeah. And if he's out for a game, like the whole offense just shuts down. And for a 33-year-old, that's pretty impressive for him to be our best goal scorer. But yeah, I understand if Yzerman's getting, we're going to give you a second-round pick for an expiring deal. Additionally, if you, try to keep him, I got to think he's going to, say, look at this resume. This isn't a one-off comeback story. I'm ready to, be a presence in this league. That's why you could almost make the case, well, maybe we could ballpark. What kind of number are you talking about here in your age 34, 35, 36 season? Whether or not the Red Wings would, at least probably have to double that $1 million a year to keep him aboard, even as he goes into his mid-30s. So I think that's a kind of an interesting discussion because while the Red Wings, have been sitting on these, we talked about veterans at the end, kids who are still at the beginning. This would be a really interesting discussion, I think, for Yzerman to be like, do you want to be here to kind of help, mold these young minds? Because we can see what a positive influence your voices and your hockey skills are. This would, for me, be the hardest, one of the harder moves for Steve. Because I think you could get value, but I think there is value in keeping him around. Matt, give me a repost on that.
What?
As far as the value of, trading him and you get a second or a third round pick, or you try to see what it would cost to re-sign him because, you can feel his presence on the ice and in the locker room.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. As I had another thought in my head, and then I was thinking how I wanted to throw that into what you were saying. But I guess this should answer it. I wanted to come back to Bobby Ryan at the beginning of the season saying he trusts Steve Yzerman. And I think when you and I first talked about that statement, I think it was about like Bobby getting put in the best situation possible by the end of the season. And that's something where if Bobby's on the trade block, Yzerman's not going to sit there and go, well, I'm not getting enough for this forward who's producing well. I think it's more about Yzerman's was probably promising, look, I'm going to move you and we're going to put you in a better situation by the end of this. This will just be an opportunity for you to shine and get noticed so you can head on over to a Stanley Cup contender. I guess point being, we'll know exactly what Bobby Ryan meant when he says, I trust Steve Yzerman. Once the trade deadline rolls past, right? Then we'll know. We'll know what that all meant. If it means that he trusts Steve Yzerman to build a winner, then Bobby will still be here. And if it meant that Bobby knew Steve would do right by Bobby and his age and his career, we'll know that too. But those are probably the two options, right? That we're gonna be looking at, unless Bobby just goes, we lose another 10 games and he says, I would retire. Like that's the third option, but I doubt that's gonna happen. But yeah, and now that what's funny is I'm sort of second guessing the Bernier grade because I focus so much on the financials for Bobby Ryan and so many other guys that I didn't really take that into consideration for the goaltenders.
Yeah,
and we're not really breaking the bank on a Bernier.
I mean, I think the last point for Bobby is, like the likelihood of him getting traded is we know that the pandemic, besides, making it a real grind for the players, kind of juggling in and out of the lineup, having to get games canceled, things like that. The salary cap has had a hard time going up. So a lot of teams are right on the cusp of, being over, which, the NHL has the hard cap rule. So I think that financial reason is probably the strongest argument for Bobby to get moved. For teams that are on the cusp of either, being in that kind of bubble play-in, actually being a top seed for the playoffs. If you want to get a cheap, affordable acquisition and you have a team that all they care about is draft picks at this point, it could actually turn into a bidding war for Bobby Ryan. So I think that's probably a pretty interesting thing to keep track of here as we get closer to the deadline.
Yeah, and we were talking too before the show started, like, if the Tampa Bay Lightning wanted to bring back Kucherov early, and that was something that was going around online, they'd have to make space for him. And that's right. Something where you get in a conversation with the Lightning and go, look, I've got a winger here that you can, you go 1-for-1, maybe a draft pick, and then you have the cheaper winger. We'll take on the higher salary because we've got the space. That's something to keep in mind too. I keep throwing in draft picks, but I forget that with the Bobby Ryan contract being so low, it might just be something where you could trade serviceable guys. One's just getting maybe paid a little bit more, and the Red Wings will be able to take that contract on. And like I said, specifically with the Lightning, they might look to make some more space if they want to bring Kucherov back before the playoffs. All right, and I don't know. We're really going long here, but did you want to touch on a defenseman as well?
No, I just, you wax poetically about Troy Stecher, for good reason. We've talked about Steve bringing in defensive defensemen. And a lot of the times what that means is this guy's going to bring 0 to the table goal scoring wise. So sometimes you're a defensive defenseman because we're trying to justify you being on the team. But that's not the case here. This guy is... I'll let you touch on because you did a lot more of the research for Troy, but it eyeball test, it's there. It's such a positive impact. He's made Mark Stahl palatable at times, which I don't think we ever foresaw. He's made Stahl so palatable, Matt, that he could potentially be on the trading block. So Yzerman might get a draft pick to acquire him, and he might get another draft pick to get rid of him. So as far as Troy Stecher's value is to this team, I think B+ is a little low, Matt. If he somehow turns Mark Stahl into multiple draft picks in multiple transactions, that might be an unprecedented move as we look at the history of a GM in this league. Troy Stecher, like Yzerman owes that guy a contract extension and a steak dinner. So bravo to Stecher, Matt.
Yeah, the main focus here was that he's doing pretty good at points per 60 for in regards to a defenseman, but he's doing so great from an expected goals against perspective. And I put it in there that he's 6th in the league among all defensemen in expected goals against. And I threw in there, the name Cal McCarr is who you can measure him. That should be the measuring stick, I think, right now for all defensemen in the league, especially like a well-rounded one. I think we see with Hughes over in Vancouver that defensive capabilities seem to be lapsing. Why does lapsing not feel like a word right now? I think I'm just too tired. All right. But yeah, that's where whatever Stecher was bringing to the table offensively was like a cherry on top, because he would just stifle whatever was going out there. And you're right. Like, he also has to drag Mark Stahl around. And I threw out there, if you're looking at all defensive pairings, which there's 26 different defensive pairings, 10 of those pairings were on the positive side of expected goal percentage. So that's where the expected goals you're throwing or bringing to the ice and the expected goals that are going against you. He has the positive side of that. 4 of the 10 pairings, and again, 10 out of 26 are above 50%. He has 40% of those pairings. And those are all of the pairings that he's been a part of. And then I had to throw in there DeKeyser, Merrill, and Mark Stahl are how those have all lined up. and we've seen DeKaiser and Merrill struggle as well. And Mark Stahl's completely fallen off the map before Stecher came back in the last game and scored our first goal of the game. So everything just seems to be, pointing in Stecher's direction. And yeah, it just this is something for Red Wings fans. Like, we are looking for the Svechnikov things to get us excited. I think Stecher's it stinks, right? Because when Stecher came in, the first part of the conversation was the expansion draft. And this is a guy you could expose and keep other Red Wing prospects safe. And I just, at this point, I'm exposing everyone else, and I want to keep Stecher safe because he's doing such a great job. And when we picked him up as through the waiver wire, like, I remember seeing everybody's thoughts from, especially from Vancouver, just like, no, like, this is something to them that was too exciting. And, Yzerman made, again, another fantastic move. I challenge everyone to go check it out. Again, by the time you're listening to this, all those typos will be gone. You know, it's funny. I'm looking at just Stecher's section right now, and I apologize again. I shouldn't be doing this because I should be upselling or like trying to sell the website. But I even spelled Stecher's name wrong, like at the bottom here. So all of those, I promise, the editing, our lead editor will take a look, which is myself. So I'm going to go through this 10,000 word document and fix it up here. But Mike, I think we've exhausted ourselves, including all of our discussion topics for today, which again, as we like to throw out there, means that Scott Wheeler's prospect pool gets pushed back another week. So maybe we'll get to talk about it next week. Probably not. But yeah, everybody check us out, bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. There's the shop page right on the homepage. You just click the shop page down at the bottom. It'll get you to check out all these cool things like our Brothers of Discussion mug for anybody who's interested. And we've got our Red Wings Rant sweatshirts and T-shirts. You guys, yep, Mike's got the Red Wings Rant sweatshirt right there. Oh, I should blow that up.
Yeah. Oh,
well. Now it's just you, Mike. Oh no, I switched back.
Hey.
All right. Thanks. What? Oh, just showing up. Okay. Sorry. Go to @BOD Hockey and brothers_of_discussion on Instagram. @BOD Hockey is Twitter. Man, I really feel tired right now. I'm barely remembering what our website is. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Sorry this is such a scramble at the end. Hope you enjoy it, and check out those mid-season grades on bodpodcast.com/Red Wings Rant. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.